Hey, what's up, mortals? It's Miggy Sawdust here with a new video for you. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of What If Stain Was Izuku's Dad. Just wanted to greet you all by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. Let's get started. Izuku remembers his first hero toy. It was All Might, of course. The action figure moved, arms able to shift positions for combat or stances. Izuku was given a lot of villain toys, all of who All Might had to defeat. The time his father caught him pairing All Might with the villains was not one he had forgotten.
Izuku,
his father had yelled.
just what do you think you're doing?
I'm just playing, Daddy. He stuttered, confused.
All Might is the one, only true hero. He cannot fight villains alongside other villains. It goes against all he is.
Chiosme, his mother scolded. He's just a child.
Better he learn it now than later down the line,
his father said, his gravelly voice grave. Kneeling down to Izuku, his father put a hand on his shoulder.
Listen here, Izuku. Most heroes,
his father spat the word like venom,
only care about their own fame and wealth. They ignore the people they can't save in front of a camera. But All Might is a true hero. He's the only good one around.
His mother sighed, rolling her eyes as she left the room to stir her husband's belated 36th birthday dinner, disgruntled. Izuku, on the other hand, felt his world light up. What? Izuku trailed off, searching for the words. His father hummed, inquisitive. What if I become the second most truest hero? His father smiled at him, pride lighting his face.
I will support you, my son.
He brought his son in for a hug.
Even if the world doesn't.
2 weeks later, he found out why his father feared the world wouldn't support someone like him. Izuku was playing with Bakugo Katsuki, another kid at the primary school. Izuku didn't really like the other boys Katsuki hung out with. They were always mean to Izuku. And again, so was Katsuki. They were playing in the forest near the park, hunting for bugs. They were walking single file, strongest to weakest. Izuku, of course, was placed in the back, as he hadn't gotten his quirk yet.
Don't worry, Izu-chan,
Katsuki said, looking behind him and grinning.
When you get your quirk, you can be my sidekick.
Izuku grinned brightly, eyes shining in hope. He nodded once. Yeah. Katsuki, still looking behind himself to talk to Izuku, didn't notice his precarious foot placement and ended up slipping off the log they had all walked onto. He ended up falling to the water below. The other boys called out to him, but Izuku quickly navigated his way down to the blonde. Well, Katsuki, are you okay? One of the boys called out, his quirk causing his eyes to bulge slightly. There was blood, Izuku noticed. Katsuki had skinned his knee on the river rocks. Izuku didn't notice the blonde laugh and say,
I'm fine.
He kissed the wound better, smearing blood on his lips. On instinct, he licked them. Are you okay, Kachan? He asked, offering a hand to help him up. Katsuki scowled down at him, shoving him away with a forceful push.
Get away from me!
The push caused Izuku to stumble and fall himself. Suddenly, Izuku felt very angry, unable to regulate his emotions. I was just trying to help, he yelled back, standing up. Why do you have to be so mean to me all the time? Izuku balled his fist and swung down. At that moment, Katsuki's face went blank and he fell back down again. A sudden nosebleed poured down from the front of his nose. Concern and fear gripped Izuku. Kachan?
What did you do to me?
Katsuki whimpered. Confused, Izuku could only stare. What? He took a step closer.
No!
Katsuki cried out, splashing water at Izuku.
Get away from me, freak!
Katsuki ran and his other friends joined him. When Izuku went home crying, covered in water with blood on his lips, his mother called the doctor. That day they found out Izuku's quirk, blood leading. The combination of his mother's attraction, which allowed her to pull small objects towards her, and his father's blood curdle, which allowed him to paralyze someone after consuming their blood, led Izuku to gain a quirk which allowed him to control someone else's blood after ingesting it. It was villainous, especially when it meant he could control the blood while it was still inside someone else. People didn't like the fact he could control their movements so easily. They bullied him, avoided him, tormented him. Katsuki became his biggest tormentor. After his father found out, he told Izuku.
Don't call him by his given name, Izuku.
His father looked grim, like when he was talking about false idols.
Don't try to be friends with him. People like that never change.
Dad was right, Izuku thought years later, glaring at Bakugo from his forced place on the floor, burns starting to blister. All heroes except All Might are rotten. But somehow, that didn't stop him from being curious about other heroes. In particular, underground heroes. Underground heroes didn't care about image. In fact, the less known about them, the better for their jobs. They also didn't make that much compared to daylight heroes, who became bigger than movie stars. Eraserhead was one of such these, maybe also true, but not as true as All Might heroes. Izuku made it a pastime to analyze heroes and villains alike, seeing what their ideals, fighting styles, and weaknesses were. He was curious about Vlad, who also had a blood manipulation quirk. After watching a couple dozen of his fights, Izuku tried to manipulate his own blood, like Vlad. However, he ended up face down on the floor, his mother fretting over him after he passed out not only from blood loss, but quirk overuse. So manipulating his own blood was off the table. For now. He was thankful his father allowed him to practice his quirk on him. Over the past 10 years, Izuku was able to fully control and move someone around. The only problem was, while using his quirk to control someone else, he was completely immobile, leaving him open to attacks. He was also thankful that his father had taught him how to wield daggers and weapons that made others bleed, making it easier to use his quirk. Izuku didn't know what his father did when he left at night. He went on a lot of business trips, and his mother told him that. He's fighting to make the world a better place. And that was the end of it, his mom refusing to divulge more information. It was what should have been a normal day of classes. Izuku fell asleep on his desk, half-heartedly paying attention, when he suddenly heard his teacher's nonchalant, "Oh, Midoriya's also applying for UA, huh?" And suddenly, all heads turned toward him.
Midoriya? No way.
Like they'd ever let a villain like him into the school. Suddenly, Bakugo was in Izuku's face, cheeks flushed with anger and teeth bared.
Don't you even think about it, you pathetic Deku!
He hissed, the scent of burning sugar coming off of him in waves. All right, settle down. Everyone returned to their seats, Izuku trembling slightly. I know you all want to become heroes, but you gotta be realistic about these things. His teacher then went around the class setting papers on everyone's desk. You've got to have a second career in mind, so I've made a list of things you might want to do. When he reached Izuku's desk, the teen couldn't help but notice him flinching away from him. It wasn't new by any means, but that didn't mean it hurt any less. Izuku zoned out, replaying the hero fight he had seen earlier that day in his mind, absently wondering what type of material Mountain Lady's costume was made out of. This video is sponsored by Honey. Honey is a free browser add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, and Kohl's. Whenever you shop, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these stores is click that little orange button, and it'll scan the entire internet and find you discount codes. If there's a coupon code, it will find it. And if there's not, you can rest assured that you're getting the best price possible. If you install Honey right now, you can save like $50 to $100 on your shopping doing nothing. There's literally no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks, 10 million people use it, 100,000 5-star reviews. Unless you hate money, you should install Honey. Thank you again to Honey for sponsoring this video. By the end of the day, Izuku was drained mentally and emotionally. He decided to do his homework after class, staying at school just a little bit longer. That was a mistake. Well, the voice of one of Bakugo's goons said, if it isn't the little leech. Izuku glared up at them from beneath his bangs. This is annoying, he thought. Bakugo snatched his homework out from under his pencil, forcing him to drag a dark line across its body. Without hesitation, he blew it up, his explosion quirk causing Izuku to wince on instinct, his ears ringing slightly from the aftermath of the explosion. Bakugo sat on his desk and roughly grabbed the collar of his uniform.
Who do you think you are?
He growled, lips curled upward.
UA would never accept a villain like you.
False hero, he hissed in his mind. Izuku bit Bakugo with enough force to cause him to bleed. Bakugo cursed and pushed him out of his seat and onto the floor, Izuku's head bouncing off the wood. He got up quickly, ignoring the vague ring in his ears, and dragged an ounce of blood from the wound he had caused. Izuku couldn't help the smirk of satisfaction that grew on his face at seeing Bakugo and his friends' faces turn stock white with fear. Fixing his face into a glare, Izuku hissed out, "Don't touch me, false hero!" Using what he had learned from Vlad's fights, he crystallized the blood into a sharp needle. "I'm going to UA, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." Bakugo was livid, his face morphing into that of a rabid dog's. There was a vein threatening to burst from his temple, and drool almost hanging from his lips.
Real heroic,
he said lowly, rage threatening to seep through. Izuku persisted. One of the goons looked unsure, eyes darting towards the door. "I'm gonna go get a teacher." "Yeah," said the other. "You'll never get into UA! They see you threatening another student with your villain quirk!" Izuku grinned widely. "Did you hear that, Kachan?" Izuku taunted. "All they need is a little proof, and you'll never make it into UA." The color dropped from all of their faces. "Yeah," he said pleasantly, still holding the bloody needle towards him, his arm starting to ache from the constant position. "You remember leaving all those burns on me, don't you? Well, most of them never really healed right. Not to mention the new one I got yesterday." He raised his other arm to support the one hanging in the air. He grinned at them, tired and threatening and ever so slightly gleeful. "I'm sure UA would love to know that one of the applicants left hand-shaped burns all over his classmate's body." He saw Bakugo swallow, sweat trickling down his neck. He was still angry, brimming with rage, but there was a real fear in them too. They all knew he was right. Bakugo's friends glanced at Izuku, then back to Bakugo, waiting for an order. His hands curled to fists and shaking at his sides. Bakugo turned heel towards the door, his bangs in his eyes.
Let's get out of here.
Wait, really? Bakugo didn't wait before slamming open the door and walking out, leaving his friends to catch up after him. Wait up! Hey, you should probably get that checked out. Yeah, who knows what kind of diseases he has? Izuku smirked, looking at the ground with his ruined assignment. Well, it looked like he was going to have to settle for a B in this class. Rather than releasing the blood and letting it splatter on his classroom floor, making sure that everyone knew Izuku had used his quirk on someone, Izuku decided to liquefy it again and shape it into a pair of orbs. He absent-mindedly spun them around above his hand on his way home from school, muttering to himself, "Just who does he think he is anyway? He says he idolizes All Might, but he pulls that? False hero. Doesn't he realize his quirk is just as villainous as mine? Even more than mine? Can't wait to see how much property damage he could..." Then suddenly he heard a noise coming up from underneath the manhole, quickly followed by sludge, escaping, heading right towards Izuku. "Oh, just what I needed," he thought in a state of blind panic and shock.
Perfect,
the sludge thing said, its voice causing the tar-like substance to jiggle. It then launched itself towards Izuku, wrapping itself around his mouth and nose, and suddenly Izuku couldn't breathe.
It's a good thing you were here. I'd be screwed.
Izuku, in a panic, dropped the bloody orbs on the ground. He saw them hit the pavement with a wet splat, crimson goring a flowering weed. Izuku struggled against the villain, choking on his sludge.
Just stay still. It'll only hurt for a minute. But I gotta borrow your body to get out of here. I didn't know All Might was in town.
All Might? Izuku thought, lightheaded and floaty. Did he say All Might? His vision started to black out, and he realized that even if All Might was in the city, it didn't mean he was here to protect him. His father had taught him that, try as he might, All Might wasn't able to stop every crime. Izuku realized suddenly that he was ingesting the villain's body. Which means I'm ingesting his blood! With what little oxygen left in his lungs, his body moving sluggishly, Izuku forced himself to move, flexing his arm at full length, his palm facing toward he and the villain, fingers spread. Instantly, uneven chunks of the villain came flying off of him and onto the opposite wall. He barely heard it yelp, as he was gasping for air and coughing up the remaining junk from inside his mouth.
What the hell?
The villain didn't get to say much after that, because suddenly All Might popped out of the manhole, and with a quick
Smash!
the rest of the villain was forced off Izuku. After a few solid seconds of hacking and coughing, he realized what had just happened. His head shot up, ignoring the headache as he saw All Might collecting the villain in soda bottles.
Holy whoa, it's All Might!
All Might turned to him, his signature smile causing every single nerve to stand on end. He laughed, which almost made Izuku's soul leave his body.
Slow down, son. You must have a powerful quirk to defend yourself against this villain.
Izuku floundered, well aware he was making a fool of himself. After many moments of open gaping, he finally found the words.
Thank you!
Izuku shouted, cringing as it echoed off the stone walls.
Could you maybe sign my notebook and this page?
He asked, taking out his hero analysis notebook, then ripping out an unused page from the back.
You see, my dad and I are huge fans, and
All Might laughed again.
Of course!
He took out a pen seemingly out of nowhere, taking it to the pages.
Young... He wants to know my name?
Izuku thought, stunned.
Izuku! Midoriya Izuku, and my dad is Chiyosume.
Izuku screamed when he got the pages back, unable to hold back his happy tears. He made sure not to get any snot or tears on it. He didn't even care that All Might gave his dad his mom's last name.
Well then, young Midoriya,
All Might said, turning away from Izuku.
I must be on my way. He's leaving already? But can someone with a villainous quirk be a hero?
Izuku yelled, immediately blushing in the aftermath of it all.
Crap! I didn't mean it to word it like that.
All Might stilled, turning to look at him from the side of his eyes.
What was that? It's just that for the longest time, everyone told me my quirk is villainous, even when theirs can do so much more harm.
Izuku calmed his breathing, calmed himself.
So I guess what I'm asking is, can someone like me become a hero? I need to know. I need to hear it from someone who isn't my dad, who isn't my mom.
He opened his eyes at the feeling of a hand on his shoulder.
Young Midoriya, anyone with the right motivation and values can become a great hero. Seeing what I did of you defending yourself today, I think that you, too, will become a great hero.
Izuku couldn't help it. He broke down, crying so hard he hiccuped. All Might looked around awkwardly, unsure of what to do with himself. He started, patting Izuku on the head awkwardly.
There.
Izuku just continued to weep, breath catching on a hiccup. He snorted in snot that was threatening to leak out from his nose. Izuku looked at his watch and hissed.
Not enough time. I must apologize, young man, but I must be on my way. Take care and get home safely.
And with that, All Might left, leaving a hopeful Izuku under that fateful bridge. Thank you all so much for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there's a few things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our patrons. BD Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Shifter Meals, Adam Zagel, Zill, XAV Beto 3, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of our YouTube members, Toya Costa, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF2364, and Knuckles, Remu Tempest, Angel Juarez, Donald C. Stewart, Brian Grier, and Demonized Fox. Third, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials have got you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's excellent content. Their details can be found in the description below. And lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to personally invite you to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members ages 16 years and up. You can sign up for whatever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and have a divine day.